It's been 60 years since Beatlemania took America by storm. The great performances, the timeless lyrics, and we're going to mine some of those lyrics into some financial wisdom that you can take and apply to your retirement. Let me grab Walt and let's dive right in.
Back on Power Your Retirement, we're talking about the Beatles today and what it has to do with finances and perhaps your retirement future. I'm Walter Stroholt alongside certified financial planner Steve Smit for another great episode. And this one's going to be simple, fun, straightforward. Steve, we're going to go through some Beatles quotes since it's been 60 years since they kind of toured through America, approximate anniversary this summer and fall. And we'll see what kind of financial wisdom we can draw from their timeless quotes. I think this will be pretty fun. Were you a Beatles fan at all growing up, or like their music now, that kind of thing?
So my dad is a crazy Beatles fan.
Okay.
He fits the time frame as well. That would make him about 15, 16 when it comes to the timeline of this mania. So he loves it. So I got to hear it over and over and over again, and I did grow to love it. It is great music, but it's definitely his era for sure. But I can appreciate the classics.
Nice. I don't know when the last time I chose a Beatles song to go listen to. Obviously, you hear them in stuff all the time. I don't know when the last time I consciously chose to go listen to a Beatles album or song. So maybe I need to bust them back out and listen to a few again these days. But we'll play a little bit of that role on today's show. Now, the Beatles are they've been very protective over the years of their songs getting used in other people's work. They're very, very tight about that. So you won't be hearing us play any Beatles music to stay out of copyright trouble today. But you feel free to sing a lyric or two if you feel so inclined, Steve. Let's first go to the song, All You Need Is Love. And the quote is, "Nothing you can say, but you can learn how to play the game. It's easy." How does that speak to you in the financial realm?
Well, I would say the second part of that, you can learn how to play the game, because when an employee or a client first engages, especially if they're on, one of the younger variety, I'm thinking right now of Michael, who came to one of my workshops recently, and he's been there maybe 3 or 4 years at the company, and he's starting to build up his 401k and getting interested, and we're going to help him with a nice plan. But he doesn't know what he doesn't know. And he is very eager to learn, which I really appreciate, but that's what it is. We really want to learn how to play the game, because first he had to start to learn the vernacular, about finance. It's a whole nother language that you have to start to learn to figure out, 401k, what does that mean in the real world? Nothing, unless, it's like a subsection of some legislative law, but you have to learn some of this vernacular, and the younger we learn it, the better off we do. And I just applaud clients like Michael in their 20s engaging with retirement and saving and investments.
Yeah. You could pick a bone a little bit with the "it's easy" at the end and say that might be a little bit of a false promise when trying to learn finance and retirement. But I kind of like it there, because like you just said, if you're paying attention, if you learn how to play the game, it should be easy, or at least easier than if you were kind of flying blind. So I like your spirit and your takeaway on that quote. That's a good one.
Definitely.
All right. Next one is a good Beatles song for sure. This particular lyric we've chosen should give it away which song it comes from pretty easily. "Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be." All right. Spin that one into some financial guidance for us.
Oh, that's just hearing that give me a headache. So what that...
Nightmares of your youth and hearing Dad play it over and over, huh?
But even more than that, when I hear it now in the financial context, outside of the on repeat, a lot of times we have a big bump in the road. Like earlier this year, we had the tariffs, right? And then the big announcement in April, and we had the big, V shape, but we didn't know it was a V at the time, right? It was just going down in a straight line, a couple of huge back-to-back days of down, and just have to let people know that there's going to be market volatility, and just let it be. Don't panic. Don't sell it all. We have a strategy, and these tariffs aren't going to end the world. and let it be, let it be, let it be. And I hear the portfolio resounding back in the background of let it be.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad one to just have on cue. And when, if someone ever calls up kind of panicked about something happening in the market, you can play them the Let It Be song, perhaps, if it's appropriate.
Here we go. We'll do mandatory 2-minute hold times and play that Beatles song.
There you go. That's right. I love it. All right. Next quote comes from the Get Back song, and it's get back to where you once belonged. I can kind of see maybe where you might take this one.
So that one is reminding me of a couple different things. I've had, unfortunately, this is fresh. This is this morning. I've got a client that's going through a cancer diagnosis, not retired, and needing some extra funds for deductibles. Had a pretty big deductible, co-pays, all of that starting to hit. And they, they were a little bit concerned not only about the health conversation, obviously we had that, but also their emergency funds taking a pretty big hit. So I just told them to take care of whatever they need to with their health, and we'll slowly work ourselves back to a fully funded retirement fund. So we will get back, and I also hope and pray that she will go into remission or get rid of that cancer completely.
Yeah, absolutely. Hope that's the case. And but it's a good reminder that sometimes curveballs come back at us. They might knock us off track a little bit, but if we've got a good plan in place, it shouldn't be hard to get back on track, get back to where we once belonged as well. It sounds like that's what you're helping those folks do, and anyone in a similar situation. There's hope there and guidance available to you. Honestly, getting knocked off track is probably what brings a lot of people through your front door to begin with, right? They might have something happen in their lives that makes them just like a health concern, but it might be something else that makes them go, ooh, I need to do something different here. I need to get back to where I once belonged. Maybe it's a market correction or something else, but sometimes that's the spark, I would imagine.
It is. Life transition is a great time to evaluate things, financial, insurance, all kinds of different things.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, this next one's a good one. It's from yesterday. Yesterday, all my troubles seemed so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. We kind of stay on this troublesome path for the moment.
Well, that reminds me of, I don't know if it can be troublesome. It reminds me of estate planning, maybe even a little bit life insurance. People don't really, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind most of the time until somebody passes away, maybe before they were supposed to, and they needed to make more income for the family. That's the life insurance side of it. And the estate planning side is, it's not a good time to do estate planning when you're, in hospice for sure. Or later, unfortunately, could be worse. And that is kind of when it comes to life insurance and estate planning, this quote is so true, because who really wants to spend the next few days talking about how they're going to die or when they're going to die or what's going to happen when they're going to die? I don't think anybody really enjoys that. Maybe there's a few out there. Also, life insurance, speculating on how much am I worth dead. That is not necessarily something that we want to, put a number on or even spend time doing. But it's so important and so necessary to make sure that we take care of those that, that follow us, that stay behind. So it's good to step that up, because one day that far away becomes reality.
You could apply this in a lot of different ways, not just estate planning, right? As you've been talking about that, I was thinking about younger savers and investors. Younger employees might be looking at retirement itself as being pretty far away. Hard to save today for that when it's so far into the future. And then as you get closer, maybe into your 40s and 50s, that starts to get a little closer in the rearview mirror. And you might be saying, okay, now that's here to stay. I've got to do something about it. Maybe it's healthcare planning and retirement. And it's, again, something we want to, anything that makes you feel like the ostrich and you want to stick your head in the sand and kind of ignore it and pretend like it's too far away to worry about. It should be this song should be a good reminder that those troubles are going to be here to stay one day. So let's address them today.
Yes. Yeah. And getting that young person, like I mentioned earlier in the episode, Michael, to engage is something difficult to do, but for those that do engage, there's a big payoff for sure.
They're setting themselves up for life, that's for sure. Last quote from the Beatles here, last lyric to cover from Hello, Goodbye. It's, you say goodbye, I say hello. Hello, hello. Take us through that one.
When I hear that, I hear transition.
Okay.
That's what I hear. And one of the biggest transitions that I personally work with is the retirement. That's the big question, because there's planning with that. There's we got to figure out incomes. Portfolios are going to be shifting, pensions, Social Security, all these things that we kind of say goodbye to going to work every day, and that camaraderie that comes with that identity that comes with that.
Mm.
And like, hello, hello. And everybody talks like, oh, I can't wait for retirement. I very rarely hear somebody like, I'm dreading it. I want to go to work for the rest of my life. I rarely hear that. I have heard that, but I rarely hear it.
Yeah.
And that hello is more scary than what you think, especially when you get into it. That identity that you lost, the camaraderie, and a lot of your friends and relationships are tied up into that. And you have to really create this new future, which is very exciting. But anytime you've gone to a new school, if you're young, whether you're moving to a new town, and this is very much that similar experience where everything's kind of foreign because you've got to design a new life. And if you don't, that timeline, till the end is very much shortened. You have to find new purpose in retirement. But it's exciting as well. It's not a bad story. It's just something that, we need to embrace the hello, because it's a lot of work.
Yeah. If I can be cheesy for a moment to put a bow on this entire conversation, it doesn't matter whether you're just learning to play the game or if you're ready to say hello to retirement. The key is to not let your plan just twist and shout. Instead, we want it to come together with a strategy that helps you feel confident, clear, and ready for what's next. So slipped in a few extra little homages there to the Beatles and some of their songs. But yeah, great points being throughout this entire conversation, Steve. We just want to make sure that we're planning properly. We're keeping our eye on the ball, making sure that we're not letting things just pass us by or trying to ignore them, realizing that problems in the future will get here before we know it. So let's plan for them today. If you've got questions about anything like this, especially if you're an employee of a publicly traded utility, Steve specializes in working with your plans. Steve, give us a quick couple of seconds on why that's such a big difference maker for publicly traded utility employees, how you're able to do something that's a little extra special for them versus just maybe the average worker out there who's not in that industry, some of the proprietary things that you've got going on.
We give access to a full financial plan. That's not a normal part of a 401k. That's one of that applies to all ages, of course. And then also we have a lot more investments than the 8 to 20, depending on which company we're referring to, that are on the list. We also help organize those in a proprietary way, because when the list comes out, it doesn't really know what you've done in the past, previous employers or spouses that are inheritances, and the list goes on. But the most important is what we do the last 10 years before you retire, because of specific proprietary benefits like a cash balance pension, 401k. It's rare that I run into someone who really knows how to put those two together to maximize the last 10 years before they retire. So that's one of the biggest things we do for employees.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks for that explanation. And so if you'd like to interact a little bit more with Steve and find out how you can properly plan for retirement, whether that's right around the corner or still off in the distance, the great news is that Steve can work with you no matter your stage in life. All you have to do to see if you're a good fit is to reach out. You can go to powerupyour401k.com, where we've got the toolkit that includes Steve's book and other additional resources. You can order that for free and learn more about what it's like to work with Steve, some of the essential information and education that you need to plan for retirement, as well as an opportunity to schedule a time to visit with Steve. So we've got all those links for you in the description of today's show. Check that out and interact and touch base if you have any questions at all. Steve, thanks for the help today. Really appreciate you playing along with the Beatles conversation today, even though it drove you crazy probably a little bit, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Well, thanks, Walt. It was really fun today, and thank you all for listening, and please subscribe if you've enjoyed it.
This podcast is provided by Powerhouse Financial Advisors, an independent firm with advisory services offered through Parsonex Advisory Services, Inc., PAS, a federally registered investment advisor. The information provided is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered as personalized investment advice. PAS does not guarantee the accuracy, completeness, or suitability of this information for your specific circumstances. Investment decisions should be based on an individual's goals, time horizon, and risk tolerance. Past performance is not indicative of future results, and all investments carry a degree of risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any case studies, testimonials, or endorsements shared in this podcast are illustrative of individual experiences and may not be representative of the experience of all clients. They do not guarantee future performance or success. You should not infer any level of assurance regarding future financial outcomes. Listeners should consult with a qualified financial, tax, or legal professional before making any investment decisions. Parsonex Advisory Services, Inc. does not provide tax or legal advice. Be sure to consult with your tax and legal professionals regarding your specific circumstances. For a copy of our Form ADV Part 2A, which provides additional information about PAS, including our advisory fees and services, please visit powerhousefinancialadvisors.com.